Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing?
Yo, I'm doing good.
Matt, that's a great... You know what's not great, Matt?
What's not great, Jaren?
Snow. Matt?
Oh, man. Yep.
I have in the past, I want to say maybe 48 hours or so, I've went outside to shovel around 3 times. And that's not to say it's, it's not anything that I would consider notably bad. But I think for me, Matt, I like to get on top of shoveling the driveway because the worst for me is if you let snow sit too long, and depending on how cold it gets, it just freezes on your driveway, making, future shovels a bit more difficult. So I think whenever there's downtime, I like to, throw on some headphones, put on a pod, or put on an album, and kind of just clear out the driveway, clear out the walkway, just so before more can accumulate and then freeze over. But that's the current situation here at the Mistake Zone HQ. Matt, how's the snow situation at the Saturday Morning Arcade Clubhouse?
It hasn't been too bad, especially today. Today there was no snowfall here. But I'm guessing similar to you, yesterday we had the kind of snowfall in the morning and then just rain for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And
that was our Friday, I believe.
I think our Friday was just a lot of slushy snowfall. But Jaren, I was just out with our good friend Rakush, and we were just talking about how he hadn't gone out since about Thursday. And his car was basically entombed in ice when he went to go out to it just a couple hours ago.
That's rough, man. That I'm still traumatized by that one time I was going to work. I was heading to work. And the reason I keep this in mind is a twofold, because one, it was really traumatic, and two, I associate it with I'll explain once I get to that point. Anyway, this was just after a big snowfall. I start up the car, keep it running a bit while I'm trying to at least scrape off the ice from all the windshields, the back window, the window, everything. So this was after a particularly rough snowfall, and maybe I let the car idle for a bit longer than I should have, where I started to drive to the bus station just because my commute would be to commute to a bus station and then take the bus to where I worked at the time. And during one of the intersections near the Saturday Morning Arcade Clubhouse, it's the one that if you were to turn left, you would go towards the highway, and if you went straight, you would go to the mall. I think you know what intersection I'm talking about.
I think so. Yeah.
My car battery died when I was just about to turn left. So essentially, I was waiting at the red light. The light goes green, my car dies.
Damn.
And I had to wait 2 hours for a tow to get me. Everyone behind me is, really angry.
Yeah.
And you know how my battery just doesn't work? The hazard lights eventually stopped working too. So that was a rough morning and really traumatizing. Had to wait 2 hours. Everyone was really mad at me. The reason why it especially sticks out, Matt, is because this was during the Bang Dream Girls Band Party Cross Persona 5 collab. And that was when I was trying to tier to get a top 100 finish. And I remember I had my Bang Dream schedule, especially when I had work, where I would wake up a bit earlier, clear my energy, go to work. When I get to work, since I would get to work before I clocked in and have half an hour before the day started, play for half an hour, go through my work morning, clock out at lunch, play. That was my, play for lunch, clock back in, go home, and then tier for the rest of the night. But that morning, wrenching my plans, Matt, wrenching my plans. And I think since then, every time I'm kind of idling at a red light, especially during winter, I always, kind of let go of the brake, like, just a tiny bit, just to see if I'm still going to move forward a bit longer.
Oh, man.
And that was what has traumatized me still during winter. And every time I cross that one intersection, Matt, memories, not the best memories. But Matt, speaking about memories and creating new memories, it is the first proper episode of the the Mistake Zone for 2024. Last week we did our celebration of things we liked, maybe didn't like, and some mistakes of 2023. And I said that new year, same mistakes, I would introduce a new segment. Reoccurring segment, at least 2 new reoccurring segments for the Mistake Zone, just to help build content. And so I'm not coming here empty-handed, Matt.
Jaren, honestly, a new weekly segment sounds like so much work.
That's why I say reoccurring, Matt. I'm going to try to do it weekly, but reoccurring till the end of the year. And Matt, I hope this is okay with you, because you know me, Matt. I love me some sparkling water.
Oh, man. Okay.
Not saying this is not a hashtag ad. This is not hashtag sponsored. But Matt, I think for 2024, when applicable, I'm going to open up a sparkling water and review it on air for a few minutes and then continue on with the show.
Okay.
And Matt, by the end of the year, we'll have a ranking of Jaren's sparkling water for the Mistake Zone.
Okay.
Again, Matt, not hashtag ad, not hashtag sponsored. But to start off, before we get into our episode, I am drinking a President's Choice sparkling water cranberry ginger ale flavor. Now, Matt, here's my initial sip. Matt, this is more cranberry than I would expect, because Matt, I'm not a connoisseur of cranberry ginger ale. I like it in theory, but I don't think I have drank base cranberry ginger ale enough to have, some sort of foundation taste comparison. But drinking the President's Choice sparkling water cranberry ginger ale, I don't taste that hint of ginger ale. It mostly tastes like cranberry. But you know what? I don't mind it. I like it. It reminds me of growing up, especially in high school, when No Frills, a supermarket, would have the dollar days, and then you would get those Oceana or whatever dollar cranberry juices. And this reminds me of that one day we were hanging out in the hallway, and one of our friends at the time took my bottle, looked at the nutritious values, and said, "Oh, this is full of sugar. You probably shouldn't be drinking this on the reg." And for that, Matt, I'm on Excel right now, and I'm gonna type it in. The current Jaren sparkling water power rankings: number 1, President's Choice sparkling water, cranberry ginger ale flavor.
Oh, Matt, man.
I think this idea is great, and I hope you're okay with it moving forward.
Jaren, maybe I'll join, but like not sparkling water. I'll do something else.
Okay, Matt, this is the year of the taste. We have to enjoy ourselves. We need to keep hydrated for our podcast, for our poopcast, because I'm still 10 years old and I still like to refer to what we do as poopcasting.
I mean, that's mostly accurate, to be honest.
But Matt, I have a second reoccurring segment that I'll start next week, just because I think this week is a bit more, we have a bit more of a purpose this week. But I know when we were talking during our kind of celebration episode, I was a bit, I was unsatisfied with my Steam replay, mostly just because I'm looking at some of my friends' replays and I saw that they're playing a lot of games. And then it's me telling you about my Steam replay, my Xbox recap, my Nintendo recap, and it's, I'm not really playing a lot other than Fortnite. So Matt, I think for 2024, especially just to beef up my Steam replay by the end of the year, I want to try something called, I'm going to call it right now. I need to get the proper term from Steam. But if you sort your Steam library by playtime, or when you add something to your library, at the very bottom of the list, it says no recorded activity. Matt, for 2024, I'm going to try to play weekly at least one game I have no recorded activity on and see how far I get, try to reminisce about how this game entered my library and, just give my general impression, see if I am able to finish it, see if it catches my attention, and see what memories I associate with it. And I know no recorded activity usually covers games that I forget what the separation is, but I do have a lot of other games since I think 2017 where I've purchased or I've redeemed and haven't put any playtime. So I took everything, put it into an Excel file, and every week I'm going to hit that random number generator, see what comes up, and hopefully this works out, Matt. Hopefully this works out. But those are my two new reoccurring segments for 2024. And hopefully I don't go overboard, but I do love me some sparkling water because Matt, I don't know about you, but I'm old now. And sometimes drinking too much soda gives me a stomach ache.
Oh, man.
But I do like that feeling of popping open a can or twisting a bottle and having that carbonated taste. And I feel like sparkling water is the middle ground for me. So I will be reporting back on the various flavors that I find in my day-to-day. And then with no recorded activity, again, just to beef up that recap and, see what I have here. Because Matt, when I was entering all the titles I haven't played in my Excel file, some it all came back to me of how this most likely entered my library, but it's that realization of, wow, I don't even know what this game is. Man. So if the gotcha wheel, if RNGesus says so, hopefully I'll play it. But starting next week, Matt, in addition to whatever new hotness we find on Game Pass, because I think that Pokemon with Guns game comes out next week as well. We'll report something else. But that's what's new on my end, Matt. And before we get to what we're looking forward to in the new year, anticipated titles and predictions, anything new with you, friendo?
Jaren, I really kind of want to take part in this new drink thing. Okay. And when I was hanging out with the Kush earlier, we just went to the kind of Chinese supermarket. And one of the things I ended up buying is something new to me called Pepsi Raw. And now I'm debating on if I want to wait a week to drink this.
Hey, Matt. I just gave you my quick review of President's Choice Sparkling Water, cranberry ginger ale flavor, not a hashtag ad. But if you want to do it on air, if you want to wait till next week, do it up, Matt. Do it up.
But Jaren, that's just going to be tempting me in my fridge. Every time I open it, there's just going to be Pepsi Raw right in the back of my fridge.
Fair enough, man. Matt. And then, don't worry, Matt. I was thinking about it too when I was shoveling in the snow, trying to brainstorm sparkling water tasting, because it's my gamer fuel now, of course. Next time I'm in the Saturday morning arcade clubhouse, we record in person, I'll pick up a flavor that's new to me and get enough for all the boys and girls who might join us that day.
Oh, man.
That I'm excited for. But you know what else I'm excited for, Matt?
What is it, Jaren?
2024 in games. I know we were also discussing if we should talk about any upcoming manga and anime, but to be fair, Matt, you already corner that market every season when you release your kind of eye-catching, most anticipated anime of the upcoming season. The winter one you posted a few weeks ago. Finally got around to posting it on the blog. But I think to start off our first 2024 episode proper, this will mostly be game-centric. And since we're Nintendo-year-olds at heart, Matt,
yes,
we'll start off with Nintendo of the big three. And I think in terms of predictions, this might be the biggest softball, the easiest one to make, but Switch 2. We've been hearing rumors, we've been hearing, various Japanese outlets reporting on potential dates, potential specs. But when it comes to predictions, Matt, this will be our end-all be-all because we probably won't talk about the Switch 2 unless, one, there's an announcement, and two, a substantial rumor that we have to acknowledge. But when it comes to prediction, Matt, what's your final call of when is this going to be announced and when is this going to be released? And is it going to be a 2024 drop?
I mean, I think the thing for me is that wasn't there a soft leak earlier? I thought they accidentally said that it's going to release in holiday 2024.
I didn't see anything official, but I have seen various, reports from our, outlets reporting, this accessories manufacturer says September 2024. This something to do with AI is saying holiday 2024. So I've been seeing various leaks and rumors regarding third-party stuff, but I haven't seen anything regarding from Nintendo itself. And of course, you probably won't see anything from Nintendo themselves until they're ready to announce it officially.
Jared,
Yep.
Do you think that there's any chance that Nintendo does a pseudo shadow drop for the Switch 2?
Matt, I don't think if it's their next big boy console, I don't think you can shadow drop that. I think you need the proper marketing rollout, and you want to get everyone anticipated for this, where the only way I see a system being shadow dropped by any of the big three right now is it can't even be a pro variation.
Oh, really? I thought that's what you would have said.
No, it has to be, honestly, say Microsoft release is, a streaming device, something you can stream Game Pass to. You just plug it into your smart TV. I think that's the kind of level I'm expecting. Or, it's not necessarily, I know this contradicts what I say, but when I think of Shadow Drop, I would think, this is a Game Boy Micro equivalent. This is a streaming box equivalent. This is, I know it wasn't the case, but this is the whatever PlayStation released recently that portable handheld thing that lets you stream PS5 games to it. I think that's the caliber that I'm expecting a shadow drop of, but
I see.
Anything that is a substantial box that you have to purchase, I think now especially you have to have your lead up to. You need to do your tours, get demo kiosks and whatnot. You need to get people aware, just because I feel like when it comes to manufacturing, I'm also expecting there's going to be supply issues where if you want to shadow drop something, you have to be in the middle of production, and I'm guessing things get leaked at that point.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Where, I don't think a shadow drop per se for any of the big three is, but when it comes to the Switch 2, Matt, how sure are you that this is a holiday release?
I mean, I'm just going off what the that pseudo leak was, and I think it would be pretty cool. I don't know if holiday release is what I would expect. Maybe fall.
Okay.
If because like I feel like releasing in a holiday is a bit too close to
Right.
within holiday seasons, too close to holiday season to create holiday season hype. I feel like you need to release at least one season early, and I don't think they would do summer 2024.
Okay. So, do you think September 2024 is the safest thing? That
Yeah,
makes the
I
most
was
sense.
thinking
Yep.
late September, early October would
Fair.
be like the most guessable because I feel like they would also announce it at E3 equivalent Nintendo Direct, which should be
Okay.
June-ish.
Right. When's that Princess Peach game coming out? Just because I to me that feels like the last hurrah for the Switch, and after that's
Mhm.
in stores, I think that's we're going to be entering a window where this can possibly be announced.
I see.
But
Princess Peach is March 22nd.
okay. Yeah, I was going to say I was expecting a March announcement, but if Peach comes out towards the end of the month, yeah, I can definitely see a announcement around, you know what? April, May is when I would kind of see it. And then that gives you roughly 4, maybe 5 months to for a lead up.
Mm-hmm.
You go full on production. I think that makes the most sense to me. But then again, this is me. This is me armchair guessing.
Mm-hmm.
But biggest elephant in the room for me, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
where, we are Nintendo-year-olds, but we also are realistic, where we wouldn't be surprised if there would be any shenanigans when it comes to a Nintendo release. And Matt,
Uh-huh.
what's the over-under that this doesn't have backwards compatibility with
Ugh.
current Switch titles?
I would hate that. I honestly think that there's probably like a 70% chance it doesn't have backwards compatibility.
That's actually really high, Matt. And I think it pains me to admit that I think I'm there with you, where
Mm-hmm.
not being able to play Switch cartridges or Switch carts is one thing, but I think the biggest question is, okay, the Switch, massive success.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has their digital libraries built, and for that not to transfer over in some capacity to a new Nintendo platform, I think honestly I'm curious if that would be a make or break for Nintendo, where I I think this is really the first time that people have fleshed out a digital Nintendo library,
Mm-hmm.
where I I would be really curious to see what the general reception would be if there was no backwards compatibility, if all your digital things just lived on the Switch ecosystem, which I don't know, Matt. I want to say that they wouldn't do that in 2024 for a new system, but then again, we've been burnt before from Nintendo, so
Mm-hmm. Especially Jaren, I feel like when I think of Nintendo consoles, ever since the N64, they do kind of follow the it was a hit, it was a miss, it was a hit, it was a miss.
right.
And this is lined up to be a miss release.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe just that sort of paranoia is making me think that it's not going to be backwards compatible. Because I feel like if they don't have backwards compatibility, that's already leading to a miss.
That's going to be rough, Matt. And
Mm-hmm.
I think before we move on to specific games that might be, Switch to adjacent. Final question, Matt.
Uh-huh.
What do you think the Switch 2 will be called?
Oh man, I the first thing that came into my head is like the click.
Okay. So I think I guess we haven't really talked about this previously, but do you think that they're locked in with the Switch hybrid model now, the handheld home console hybrid,
I feel like
moving
they are.
forward? Okay.
I feel like they are.
Yeah. At least for the time being, where after the massive success with the Switch, I feel like you still have to, I think, yeah, you have to have that hybrid model moving
Mm-hmm.
forward, or at least for the next generation. and hopefully the backwards compatibility follows suit. But naming convention wise, I still think the Switch will be in the name.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I feel like they might not because of how they stumbled with the Wii U.
Can you see a Switch 2? Do you think, since the Nintendo naming conventions, we haven't really seen numbers. Nintendo 64 doesn't count.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Switch 2, or do you think Switch maybe letter or subname, but because I still think from a brand recognition standpoint, you have to have the Switch name, just to convey what it is, and to piggyback off its predecessor. But I'm not sure how you actually name that if you actually follow through with the second iteration, or you have another naming convention. But I think just from a branding standpoint, I think I'm going 90% sure the Switch will be in the name in some capacity.
I don't know, Jaren. Like I said with the Wii, they tried to bring it over, and it kind of like they did a bad job.
Okay.
Like I see a lot of people pushing the Super Switch, but I
Right.
feel like that also falls into the Wii U category. And I don't know, Jaren. I honestly, it would make a lot of sense in terms of like brand to call it something like the Switch 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be so disappointed if it's just called the Switch 2.
Right.
I want some like weird Nintendo name to go with it as a new console.
Okay. Fair enough, Matt. Fair enough. Yeah, I have seen people talk about Super Switch as a potential name, but Matt, Super Switch, Super Nintendo Switch, I don't know. I think nostalgia aside, I don't think that's a great name.
Yeah.
But that's just me. That's just me.
Jaren, do you think they still like stay with a Joy-Con form factor for the controllers?
I think if you're doing a hybrid, I think yes. My hope is they actually figure out how not to have those drift and break eventually. But again, I think the Switch Joy-Cons are iconic to the general populace right now. You associate that with the Switch platform. It's part of the logo. It's part of the, just that click. That's what I associate it with when you click in the Switch. And the snapping noise that I associate with the Nintendo Directs now, where I think it generally functions the same. Each Joy-Con can act as their own controller as well. There's probably going to be a kickstand still. And I think form-wise, it will definitely resemble a Switch, with maybe a few more. I don't know. I think the Switch design-wise is pretty iconic.
Yeah.
So I don't think you change much, but the same, elements that you kind of expect will still be there. But I guess now that I am thinking about it, I am curious to see how this thing ends up looking. But moving on to Sony, Matt, I know we are PS5-less boys, and I think in terms of hardware, the PS5 Pro is what is on people's minds right now. I think with the PS5 being, I think it is 4 or 5 years old now, and the idea that the next generation of consoles will start roughly around 2028, this would be the time to introduce a new SKU for, the PlayStation and Xbox, but I think more so the PlayStation at this point. We've been, again, hearing rumors about a potential Pro model. Matt, do you think we'll see the PS5 Pro in 2024?
I mean, I think that it follows that same thing that we were saying about I was saying about the holiday thing.
Yeah.
Where if it comes out, I think it'll hit fall. I think it's very possible to get the PS5 Pro this year.
I think for some reason when I think of a PS5 Pro model, I I don't know why a summer or like a June, July-ish is when we would see the release. I don't know why that's floating around in my head.
Jaron, when does the Final Fantasy game come out? Do you think that they could release a PS5 Pro alongside Final Fantasy?
Isn't that pretty
Yeah, Jaren, Rebirth is on the February 29th. That's actually way too early.
Right. That's way too early for a Pro.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think the next Rebirth isn't necessarily on my radar, so that's why I didn't have that off the jump. But I think, yeah, if the rumors of the Switch 2 and the PS5 Pro I think it's going to be interesting to see when each of them get released, where I could see this being a Switch 2 September and maybe the PS5 Pro October, November-ish. But I also wouldn't be surprised if this is dropped a bit earlier than fall. Get the supply. I'm not even sure if the manufacturing stuff, what the situation is right now, but get that sorted into the fall. But I know one of the hotter, topics over the holiday break was, as unfortunate as it was the Insomniac leaks. And, we were seeing that early stuff about Wolverine and then their Insomniac Games' pipeline, including, another Spider-Man game, a Venom spin-off, an X-Men game, a Ratchet and Clank, and then new IP way into the future. Matt, seeing a kind of an internal company roadmap that goes into past 2030. While it makes sense from a business standpoint, 2030 is a imaginary year to me still, where I can't even conceive anything that then. But
just we're gonna be 40 when this new IP comes.
Oh God! But I think based on the Wolverine leaks that we've seen so far, do you think we see anything official for that game this year, Matt?
For Wolverine specifically?
Yeah, for Wolverine specifically.
I mean, I'm looking at a leak list right now. Have they even put anything out for the Venom game?
No.
I feel like they wouldn't put anything out for Wolverine before they put anything out for Venom.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fair enough.
I can see Venom stuff dropping this year, though.
Yeah, because I guess that would be I guess everyone was talking about how the Venom would be the equivalent of what Miles Morales was for Spider-Man 1, which does make sense. And so, do you mind if we talk some Spider-Man 2 spoilers real quick? We can mark this in the episode.
Let's do it up.
Matt, do you know I guess it was a post-credit scene for Spider-Man 2, but do you generally know like the ending to Spider-Man 2?
I do not, Jaren.
Okay. I know they introduced essentially Silk, the character, or at least Cindy Moon, into the PlayStation Spider-Man universe. But Matt, I think when I saw the Insomniac Games leak and then I saw Venom, I was a bit disappointed just because I was hoping that Silk would. Then again, who knows? Maybe she'll have some role in a Venom spinoff, but I think if you're playing a game called Venom, you're mostly there for Venom. But that was kind of how I'm looking at it right now. But I think before we move on, Matt, does a Venom game interest you? I know Venom had some playable bits in Spider-Man 2, but those were pretty limited compared to Peter and Miles. But 2024, maybe 2025, does a standalone Venom spin-off interest you?
For me personally, no. Venom is not enough of a character that I enjoy that I would want to play a Venom game.
I think Venom to me was the coolest thing. I think, Matt, is this a hot take that Venom is cool to children?
It's pretty hot. This is pretty hot take, Jared. I don't know if people would agree with that.
Because I thought Venom was the coolest. And now as an old man, I am disappointed I'm not playing as Silk. supposedly. So I think that says more about me than comic fandom in general. So we'll move on before I further embarrass myself.
See, Jared, when I think of like a Venom game, I think a lot of Prototype.
Okay.
And Jared, I enjoyed the first Prototype game. I don't know why I didn't play the second one, but I thought the Prototype game was really fun. I think if Venom ends up looking a lot like Prototype, I would be a lot more interested.
Fair. And I totally acknowledge the fact that I think this segment of the show would flow a lot better if we actually played Spider-Man 2. So
if we played video games, this would be a much better podcast.
Fair enough, Matt. Fair enough. But moving on to the final of the big three, Microsoft. And I think from the rumors I've been seeing, I don't think there's going to be an Xbox Pro. I think realistically, Microsoft is going hard into the content portion of the console wars, where I think to them, this isn't a console wars per se, but it's a content war. Hence all the acquisitions, all the business deals. And we're still I think arguably we're still waiting for that big Xbox killer app that has come from these acquisitions. And while the prediction wise, I don't think we're seeing a new console, considering all the studios under the Microsoft umbrella and seeing how at least critically acclaimed Hi-Fi Rush was, Matt, how many stealth drops do you think Microsoft releases this year?
I am going to go for 1.25. I think that's like a safe amount that I wouldn't be surprised at.
Where I think with the release of Hi-Fi Rush last year, and, just the notion that Microsoft has all these studios, I think since we don't know we do know a few games being currently worked on, including Avowed. We have Double Fine working on something. We have Compulsion Games working on something as well, where the last few Xbox Direct equivalents really haven't given us notable updates for all these games. And I think after acquiring so many studios and seeing how, Redfall didn't hit, even though Starfield has found financial success, it's still leaving gaming discourse a bit, iffy about the current Microsoft output, where I think one of the highs last year was the surprise drop of Hi-Fi Rush, where I do expect them to release a few more games out of nowhere. Maybe one or two again. But I think what I'm hoping for, this is less of a prediction, is just more studio updates and looser dates. Just to kind of give people waiting for updates just something to nibble on. Because I think I do also appreciate how, at least from a public facing standpoint, Microsoft seems to just Matt, as the kids say, letting their studios cook for the most part. And whenever something may be ready, that's when we're going to see more information about it. But I think in terms of just to help bolster Game Pass with content, I'm expecting more deals again, and I'm just expecting one or two more shadow drops based on a new direct. Again, no hardware. I think, looping back to the top of the show, we haven't seen anything about a streaming plugin, a streaming device for Game Pass, but again, I don't think we're going to see a pro model from Microsoft. I think that would be the one thing I don't even know if we would have a streaming device from Microsoft.
I think for me, if they were releasing a streaming device, Do you think that they would also release a streaming device that connects with PCs?
I think
Because like, do you think there's any way that they can interface, I guess like the Xbox app experience on the PC to
right.
the streaming device? Because I think that would be an interesting thing to have.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they explore that. Or likewise, the idea of do these start license like, having licenses to all these other companies for them to have their own streaming devices, but with the Windows or Game Pass type
Hmm.
app are pre-installed in that. Um, since again, I haven't seen anything hardware wise, but we do see Microsoft making these business deals. So I don't know. I'm curious to see if we'll see something from Microsoft officially, or if they'll just continue to license out to other parties and just have, oh, here's Game Pass installed on a Samsung TV, for example.
Oh, that would be
Uh,
wild, actually.
Matt,
Hmm.
do you think there's a world where Game Pass is on a Nintendo platform?
Oh, I honestly don't think so. That, Jaren, that's too wild of a thing for me. I
Right,
think that they can't do that while they have a console.
right,
I think if they want Game Pass on a Switch or a Nintendo console, they have to go the way of Sega and become
right.
like that sort of like entity.
Okay. Before we move on, what do you think of the rumors of, Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, these select Microsoft first-party games coming to Switch and coming to PS5?
Oh, I didn't even know about this news, but I can see that happening. I thought Sea of Thieves was already multi-platform for some reason. But Hi-Fi Rush I can easily see on a Nintendo platform.
If the next Nintendo Direct has a Hi-Fi Rush, second year in a row stealth drop, do we count
That'd be
that
cool.
as a Microsoft stealth drop of 2024?
Oh man, that'd be cool. I honestly would count that as a Nintendo one, just because that's how I
Okay,
am. But I can definitely see counting that as a Microsoft stealth drop. Sure,
okay, Matt.
things can be more than one thing. They can be
That's
multifaceted, Jared.
That's fair. That's fair. Just like how the Mistake Zone is a poop cast that talks about video games, anime, and manga adjacent content, and now sparkling water.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited for 2024. But not
Mm-hmm.
those are our loose predictions of the big three moving forward for this year. Hopefully, we'll see some new content. Hopefully, we'll see some stealth drops. And hopefully, Matt, we'll just have new things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
now that we got the publisher or the big three publishers out of the way,
Mm-hmm.
I think 2024 is shaping up to have a lot of notable releases, especially for our particular tastes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for the rest of the episode, we can go, month by month to see what's been confirmed for release right now, and then end off with some potential TBAs and just titles that we currently have on our collective conscience, and possibly see if we think they might have releases this year or at least new information. But
Mm-hmm.
Matt,
Mm-hmm.
starting with January, I think we have a lot of known quantities right now.
Yeah.
And specifically for me, I think Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown has been getting a lot of praise lately. I know
Mm-hmm.
this is a game coming out. I think by the time all our friends listen to this episode, it will be already out. But
Mm-hmm.
reviews have been released. We've seen some hands-on impressions, some gameplay from all these different outlets, and Matt, I'm actually really surprised at how cool Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown looks,
Yeah.
and I think it is scratching that. Matt, is it
Mm-hmm.
still called Metroidvania, or does this subgenre have an official name,
I
or
think
at least agreed upon name?
I think the agreed upon name is a Metroidvania,
Okay.
and I honestly am legitimately surprised that this game is a Metroidvania type game.
it looks cool, Matt. And I'm glad that Prince of Persia still has some cachet in 2024. And I think I'm going to pick this one up eventually, but I don't know, Matt. It's still in my sick of brain where any Metroidvania or pretty much any side scroller, I'm not a die-hard enough fan to get it day one, despite it having a lot of praise. That's one of those, I'll pick it up eventually when there's a good sale price. Because, again, it's not a genre I'm dying to play like every entry for. But moving on, Matt, January 24th, we have Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Matt, I think we talked about this when the Animal Crossing mode was shown. And not only do you have the next installment of, Yakuza, Like a Dragon, but you also have the Animal Crossing stuff. You have apparently a Pocket Monster Battler as well, where I think, to be honest, trying to sink my teeth into the Yakuza games is so daunting because I know these are big board games with such a long history where I think for me, I'm just really curious the most of what is it called? Doko Doko Island or something, the Animal Crossing mode, where as much as I want to experience Like a Dragon as a whole, the thing I'm most interested in is how fast can you access the Animal Crossing mode, because that's the thing I kind of want to play right now the most. But I really do like the fact that Like a Dragon has become this established property for the most part in the West after years of Yakuza being that, oh, this is a cool game. But to me, Matt, Yakuza has always been the hardcore gaming press, the hardcore gaming enthusiasts, that's their game. This is something that no one necessarily talks about outside those circles. So it's nice to see that I feel like at least Like a Dragon has established itself in the West more than ever. But rounding off January for me, at least, it is Tekken 8, January 26th. Matt? I believe Eddie was announced as one of the first DLC characters, but Tekken, I'm just glad that there's a new installment that, again, the fighting game genre, as dog shit as I am at it in general, I just love to see all the fighting games just come out, get hype around them, and seeing all the different character announcements. Again, it's the Smash Brothers thing for me, where I want to see who's in these games. I want to see what guest characters they bring. I want to see all the funny pre-fight interactions between all the various characters, and that excites me. So again, I'm excited to see how this game evolves, not necessarily that I want to play the game. But moving into February, Matt, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. This also has been hit with a lot of leaks over the holiday period. We recently saw a preview embargo lift, and Matt, this was the first time I've seen a preview embargo lift, and it essentially being panned by every outlet who has previewed it. Yeah. I think, was it IGN that said, hey, the previewer said, I don't like this game.
Yeah, like
I didn't like what I played.
And we didn't like it or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's not necessarily that I want to play Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. I just want to see, it's the car crash effect of, I want to look at it. I want to study it in a way of, are they able to fix this? Are they able to somehow turn it around and get it, in a state where people enjoy the game? I think I'm more so here for the potential redemption story, in addition to, this is going to have at least 4 seasons of DLC. We have potential DLC characters being leaked. How do those characters look? How do their play styles kind of differ than what essentially is DC the Division? And again, Matt, that's what I'm looking forward to, is how this thing potentially gets turned around and how the critical reception at launch will be. But also coming out on February 2nd, Matt, Persona 3 Reload.
Yes.
Matt, do you have any interest in Persona 3 Reload?
Not particularly, Jaren. I don't think that I'm gonna play it.
Yeah.
I'll like check it out to see like, hey, have they done anything interesting with it? They're not sticking with the kind of like, they're going with the Reload did like the PSP version like kind of style of it, right? In terms of battle where you can control everyone, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think that's really the only like thing I'm really looking for. I'm not expecting too much out of Persona 3 Reloaded other than it looking pretty.
I think on the one hand, I'm glad, again, even though the P3P was released on, Game Pass,
Yes,
and
that's what it's
all
called.
the consoles, like was it last year or a year before? Just seeing it get a facelift, I'm just excited for more people to play it. I think when this was originally announced, I voiced that this still isn't that super complete edition that you would want, just based on all the Persona 3 content that has been released. But I'm glad more people are able to check it out. I think I'll also, just give it a whirl on Game Pass when it comes out, just to see how it feels. But other than that, I'm still waiting to see if there's going to be one that introduces the female protagonist, if there's going to be one that includes all the bonus content or the epilogue stuff. But until then, Matt, February 8th, we have Helldivers 2. And I know this is a title you're interested in, but Matt, if I had to be completely honest, Matt, what's Helldivers?
Jaren, Helldivers, the original one, was kind of like a very difficult, what's that genre of you? It's like a twin stick shooter. And it was like kind of touted for its difficulty of being, and Jaren, we kind of like dropped this term a lot, the Dark Souls of twin stick shooters.
Fair enough.
And Helldivers is surprisingly coming as a third person shooter. And like a third person like horde based shooter for the most part. And I don't know, it looks really interesting to me. It reminds me a lot of the kind of style of what's it called? Alien Defense Force.
Oh, okay.
But a lot more gritty, and having a kind of just like game where it's meant to be difficult of that style seems very interesting to me, and I'm really hoping that this is a good game.
Okay. Next on February 16th, Matt, 2 days after Valentine's Day. I don't know why I had to admit that. Skull and Bones. Matt, speaking about troubled development history, again, this is a car crash situation for me where all the previews I've heard are kind of downplaying Skull and Bones. This has been announced. I don't even know when this was been announced, and you read posts and reports saying, oh, no, they have to release this game this year or else they don't get the government grant they initially received from, I forget where this is being developed. But Matt, I don't know. I just, again, I liked Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, but at the same time, I have no interest in playing a pirate game in 2024. I think I would be more interested to see if Sea of Thieves actually comes out on the Switch and the PS5. But again, it is kind of like Suicide Squad, where I want to see how this is initially received and if there is any chance that Ubisoft is able to turn it around. And, as much as I end up poo-pooing a lot of games, maybe it's because I just don't like video games anymore. I want to see developers succeed. it's a hard industry, and I know it sucks putting a lot of effort into something that doesn't land with audiences for better or for worse. But I'm hoping that this ends up turning around based on the current feedback. But at the same time, as sad as it is, I'm just waiting to see how the reception is at launch. But
Same.
one game I am looking forward to, I forget where this was initially announced or shown off. I think it was during Summer's Games Fest. But Matt, Pacific Drive seems to be something that is checking a lot of boxes in my head. Where
Jaren, what is this game?
So again, I'm trying to keep, not look into it too much, just because from what I gathered, this is something like so it takes place in a post-apocalypse scenario, and then you're tasked with kind of driving to different locations. And don't quote me on this, Matt, but I've heard the phrase roguelite being thrown around when it comes to Pacific Drive, where I think there is an element of, you upgrading your vehicle, you're driving in procedurally generated environments. And I think based on the few, previews and sentiments from people who have gotten their hands on the game, I think a lot of it has been really positive. And again, it's just throwing around words that appeal to me. And that's why this is definitely on my radar without me looking too deep into it. Because, Matt, all you need to say is it feels good when you drive and there's roguelite elements. And I'm probably there, Matt. I'm probably there. But, Matt, will you be there on March 8th for Unicorn Overlord?
Jaren, which one is Unicorn Overlord or Lord?
Oh, Matt, I think this is a tactical RPG where,
What?
I'll be honest, Matt, I got this confused with another game, but this also has a funny name to me at the very least. Matt, does not Fire Emblem look appealing to you?
Oh wait, Jaren, I think we were talking about this game on one of our. It wasn't a Next Fest. It was a Nintendo. It's Nintendo Switch Direct. Jaren, yes. This game I'm looking forward to. The art style of it is really interesting looking. It looks interesting enough for me to want to spend a lot of time in it.
Okay, so March 8th, but moving on to March 22nd, man. This seems like a big boy day, Matt, because I think the one on a lot of people's mind is Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yes.
Now, I know our friend Julian is excited, but Matt, did you play the original Dragon's Dogma?
I did play the original Dragon's Dogma. I did not, as usual, finish the original Dragon's Dogma, but I enjoyed my time with it. I'm disappointed that I'm going to be in Japan when this releases, so I'm not going to be able to play it for a month.
Okay. But Matt, at least you'll be on a vacation, and that means in the back of my mind, I'm trying to think of potential episodes that we can record.
Jared, we have to record 5 episodes.
Okay. Matt, I have some ideas that I'll run through with you for those potential episodes, or we just go on a mini hiatus and I'll occasionally drop a list or something on the site or on our blog. But yes, Dragon Dogma 2, Matt. My only memories attached to the original Dragon's Dogma is sitting in our pal Julian's, living room and watching him play and tell me how this is an incredible work of art when it comes to games. And I think for me, it's one of those daunting experiences of, I should probably play Dragon's Dogma, which I unfortunately don't have in my current Steam library, so it won't come up in my no recent activities roulette. But I think this usually is on sale for $5 to $10 Canadian when it does hit on sale, where I think I don't think I would jump into the sequel, but I think if praise is high enough, and from what I've been hearing, I think the end game is doing some really cool things. I might have to go back and play the original at some point this year. But Matt, when I was on the Nintendo eShop and I was looking to see where I should spend my remaining voucher, which I have to use by May, one of the games I could redeem it for was a pre-order for Princess Peach Showdown, which you confirmed earlier in the show was a March 22nd release. And Matt, I think Princess Peach Showtime is something I want to eventually get my hands on, because in many respects, I do think if this isn't the last hurrah for a first-party Switch game, it's going to be one of the last ones, obviously. Where I think all the different trailers, all just how it's being set up it seems to be like a theater production. You have Princess Peach changing into all these different outfits, which gives her different abilities. And Matt, I think part of me is hoping to just, get a feel of what Peach is capable of, because I feel like this will really influence how she is presented in the quote unquote next Super Smash Brothers. And Matt, do you think moving forward, whatever forms the next Smash Brothers takes, does Princess Peach get a Showtime influenced moveset, and does Daisy just adopt the Peach moveset moving forward?
My big concern about getting Showtime related moveset is that from what I've seen in Showtime, it seems like there's so much stuff. And kind of in the same way that Kirby works, I feel like you would need a different move thing for one special button that changes for Peach.
Okay.
And I don't know how you integrate all her dress spheres into just one button.
Point taken. But Matt, also coming out on March 22nd to round this out is Rise of the Ronin for the PlayStation 5. And I think this just looks really cool. I know a lot of the really defining moments from the trailer, when I think this was shown on a Sony State of Play, was, this is this period or this era of Japan where we had a lot of European influences, the introduction of rifles and, automatic weapons and that sort of, I like when that type of story is being told. And I think this, depending on how, it's received gameplay wise, I think this would be one of the things I would pick up when I eventually do get a PS5. Just because I don't think there's a PC release in the works, or announced at the very least. But I think from the story that they're trying to tell, if the gameplay, it really matches up, that's definitely something I would like to eventually check out, just to see what story they're telling. But Matt, we're moving on to April 26th, and you have here a PC early access game, Manor Lords. Matt,
Yes.
What game is this?
Jaren, this is a blend of a city builder. I guess in this case, this is feudal, so it'd be more like a village builder, plus an RTS.
Okay.
And the combination of those two seems very interesting to me, because it's specifically pushing that it is a blend of the two. Because usually when you have a city builder, you'll have some kind of hey, we need to defend the town or village elements to it, but it's not too much of a focus. And the same thing is true in the reverse for RTSs, where, hey, you have a very army focused game, and the thing that you're building them from, the village or whatever, is not all that important. And having a game that's going to try to balance the two seems very interesting to me, because those are both genres that I generally enjoy, and having them, combined into one seems like it would be a very ideal game for me to play.
Okay. And skipping a few months, but from April 26th to August 20th, You also have listed Black Myth Wukong.
Yes.
Matt, is this the sequel to that game I didn't play because it was too hard?
No. I think this is a unique IP.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's very interesting to me because it looks so cinematic, but from what I can tell, it's going to play a lot like it seems like it I don't want to say it plays like a Souls game, but it looks like it has that kind of slow methodicalness to it. But it has the cinematography nature of something like a Sura's Wrath.
Right,
And
right.
it is a game that's also based within Chinese, what do you call it? Not culture. What's the more complete word
Folklore?
for legends? Yeah, kind of like Chinese like folklore legends, like that core mythology. That's it, mythology.
Yeah.
And I've kind of recently been like a really big fan of like diving into that sort of thing. So this is hitting a lot of the correct buttons for me.
Okay, cool. Matt,
Mm-hmm.
I also got this confused with another game, but that's my old man brain for you. But so far, those were everything with an announced date. But we still have a handful of titles that, potentially we'll see released this year, or at least hopefully we're going to see some new information about them. But
Yes.
I think one game that we're both kind of really interested in is Avowed. Again,
Yes.
Matt, this is something that has been kind of in the works for a while now and is approaching one of the most anticipated games coming from, Microsoft now. But with Avowed, Matt, what particularly are you kind of interested in?
I am kind of just generally interested in it because I like the Pillars of Eternity kind of like world setting. And one thing I'm like actually genuinely curious on is if they will carry over anything from a what do you call it? A Pillars of Eternity save.
Right.
Like I'm genuinely curious if that'll happen and like I said, I kind of like the world. I like the kind of like stuff within the world and in my head this is a Skyrim like experience based on like what they've been pushing.
Yep.
And going into a Skyrim like game or even like Skyrim like game with pre-knowledge of the world seems very interesting to me because I was never able to do that for anything that's like Skyrim or even like Fallout. I never had any of that pre-knowledge going in. So
Right.
going in with like a kind of base world understanding is kind of like exciting for me.
Okay. I think you mentioned this one, Matt, and it completely slipped my mind as well. But I think for a 1-2 punch of games that were initially shown or at least announced, and we haven't heard anything since, I think a mutual one for us would be Fantasy Life. Is it Fantasy Life I or?
I don't know, Jared. I
But
don't know
Fantasy
what that
Life
guy does. Yeah.
The Girl Who Steals Time, where again, when this was announced, we talked about how our pal Julian was freaking out over it, but at the same time, Matt, I think radio silence since. And
Yeah.
again, this was I think is it Switch exclusive? But
Yeah, it is a Switch exclusive because the original was also, I think, a 3DS exclusive.
right.
And I don't know, Jared. I feel like I'm so concerned about this game because when you go to the like Nintendo eShop, it just says releases in 2023, and
Oh,
I don't know. They haven't updated it. Nothing has like really happened with it. I don't know, Jared. I was like just like Julian. I was like freaking out when this dropped on the direct, and I don't know. I wish there was literally any news coming out about this game.
yeah, Matt. I don't know. I'm still, as I said, I'm of that mindset that Princess Peach Showtime is the last hurrah. And once we have that come out, that's when we'll start getting the Switch 2 news. But at the same time, this has to be within Shadow Drop like territory, I think. Just given how little fanfare we're seeing, but hopefully with a direct, I think rumored to be around the corner that we'll see something more of this. But
Yeah.
Matt, do you think we get any new information about Judas this year? I don't think it's going to be a 2024 release, but it's been some time since we really heard anything about the game. And if I remember when this was originally shown off at one of the Keeley shows, and you had all this talk about how it was going to do some really interesting things when it came to storytelling. I'm still curious to see how this turns out, but I feel like this might have been announced too early because I don't think this is a 2024 release. And realistically, Matt, something tells me that we might not hear anything more about it this year as well. But do you have any vibes when it comes to Judas?
I don't know. Like from what I remember of the trailer,
Yeah.
I don't remember too much other than thinking, "Hey, this looks like BioShock,"
Right.
and I don't. Did it even have any like real gameplay in it?
It looked like BioShock, Matt.
Yeah, like I don't know, Jaren. Like I feel like when I initially like look at game trailers, I kind of like base how much gameplay was in it on like, hey, when is this gonna come out? And
Yeah.
I felt like this was like still really still really in the oven.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't be surprised if it came out in like holiday of this year, but I think I am also doubtful on its release in 2024.
I think the most we see is another trailer at the Game Awards. I think that's the most we'll see from Judas this year. But Matt, Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill F are two things that I'm really curious about most. With Silent Hill 2, I think this is Bloomberg team. It Silent Hill 2 has that, I guess I don't want to say cult like status to it just because it was a pretty big game, especially at its time. But given how, growing up, Silent Hill and Resident Evil, those were the de facto survival horror games, or at least the horror adjacent games that everyone knew. And to see where Resident Evil is in 2024 based, we have not only new games, but we have game changing and even somewhat game redefining remakes of previous titles. And then you have Silent Hill that has pretty much been on the ropes for a while now, where I'm curious to see how a Silent Hill 2 ends up being, but Silent Hill F is the one I'm most interested in, mostly because this is the game with that notable, I think, indie horror game writer. You have it taking place in Japan rather than in America, where I think in terms of how different it is, this is pretty unknown quantities at this point, where I'm more excited. I more so want to learn more about Silent Hill F and eventually play it, while with Silent Hill 2, that's more so in the realm of, how are people receiving this? Does it play well? But Matt, I see you have The Rise of the Golden Idol. And
yes.
Matt, I'm still waiting to play Golden Idol, the original Golden Idol, but is there anything that you would like to see from the potential sequel based on, any quality of life things, or just is there anything that has you just kind of excited to play this if it comes out this year?
I don't know. I think like the real only quality of life thing that I would want is just knowing they already let you know what's clickable.
Yeah.
Jaren, I feel like the genre of this game is so old that any quality of life stuff that you add to this just makes it easier.
Right.
So I don't know necessarily what stuff I would want other than something that makes it so like, oh, okay, your clues are not as obscure to find. And that just makes it easier, and I don't want that. But Jaren, I just want more Golden Idol because it was such like a fun game when I played it, and I'm looking forward to more.
Okay, fair enough, Matt. Fair enough. But another Beefy Boy episode. But to finish things off, I think this was the game I was trying to think of when we talked about Unicorn Overlord. But Matt, Metaphor, Refan, ReFantazio is... I'm still thinking about this was the Fire Emblem meets Persona game, correct?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I like Persona, I like Fire Emblem, and I think the name itself is that quirky, batshit JRPG naming conventions that at least make me interested. Where I think with a Persona 3, I'm going there to kind of window shop just to check it out. But I think I more so want to play Metaphor based on what I saw. But
Yes.
anything about this title in particular, Matt, that stands out to you?
I mean, Jared just looks like batshit Persona, and
Right.
Jared, we're unapologetic Persona boys.
Yep.
So I feel like we're obligated to check this out.
We are, Matt. That we are. But again, Beefy Boy episode, a lot of cool things hopefully on the 2024 horizon. But until then, Matt, I want to thank all our friends out there for joining us for another week. I want to thank them for putting up with me wanting to see car crashes, for me saying I know a lot and you know a lot, because Matt, as much as I'll try to, cut back on my go-to phrases when I can't think of anything at the top of the head, old habits will always die hard. But I want to thank you, Matt, as always, for joining me this week and editing this poopcast.
Yeah, Jared, I want to thank you for hosting the show and bringing a new segment for us to talk about.
Hey, thanks, man. I want to thank Sparkling Water, because sometimes you want to have that carbonated pop, but soda hurts your tummy. And Matt, as boys who had bad tummy aches this year, or last year, I want to try to avoid that as much as I can this year. But tune in next week to see which sparkling water I review and where it compares to this cranberry ginger ale one I drank this week, which, again, pretty good, Matt.
Pretty good.
More cranberry than ginger ale, but looking forward to whatever you also partake beverage-wise next week, Matt Albub. But until then, please take it away.
This has been The Mistake Zone, and we're all out of the ginger ale in cranberry ginger ale.